I call this meeting to order. It is 1 p.m. We'll start by doing the territorial acknowledgement. We'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are in the Robinson Huron Treaty Territory and that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Shinnebec, specifically the Garden River and Batchewana First Nation, as well as the Métis people. Roll call. John Bruno, Ian, Eva. No. Marchie, yes. Sunny, yes.
Aye.
Steve Stevenson, yes. Duguay, yes. Sarah Miles, Lisa Hudson, Lincoln. And Deke.
Derek Dewar.
Dewar. I want to call him Deke, okay? Derek Dewar.
Also known as.
Did I miss anybody? I think we're good, okay. Any conflict of interest? Any? Seeing none? Moving on, questions and information arising out of the minutes and not otherwise on the agenda. Any questions, comments? Number 6, the adoption of minutes of May 30th, 2024. I need a mover and I need a seconder. Ian, so moved. Seconded by Marchie. All in favor? Approved. I need a motion to accept the agenda June 27th, 2024, moved by Ian, seconded by Marchie. Resolved that the agenda of the regular meeting is presented be hereby approved. All in favor? Approved. Thank you. Chief, communications and reports, information only.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and we'll take you to our board account ledger. You can see there were 3 board approved debits. One was the walk for Alzheimer's at 500, reimbursement of legal costs, 1977, and a contribution to Grocer for Good, donation at 500. So we'll move on to overtime issues. So you can see from the purple line up there, we went from April 84,000 or 85,000 to basically doubling it in May at 167,000 in overtime. We have over the last few years found that May was a expensive month on overtime. I want to bring your attention to a number of significant occurrences we had in May. We had an arson house fire at 281 McNabb Street. We had a murder suicide on the 1st of May as well at 581 Boundary Road. We had, unfortunately, the shooting on the 11th of May, attempt homicide. That was significantly expensive, 18,000 alone there for scene protection and overtime. We had an officer involved shooting, 24-second line on the 12th of May, scene protection for many days. On the 18th of May, we had a warrant, and that was extremely expensive at 10,000. We had 2 firearms calls on the 27th and the 30th, where there was a risk to public safety, male believed to have firearm and fled the scene, as well as another call at 650 Wellington. But our total overtime just on those occurrences was around 50,000. So we've had a very busy time, as well as officers on annual leave and whatnot for backfilling. So it's been an expensive month. When we look at our year to date, in 23, we're at 459, and 24, we're 100,000 more. We'll do our best over the next few months to curtail that. The next slide, you'll see again, when we went from staff shortages, which I just referred to, In May, we had 14,000, we jumped to 61, which is the other part of that increase. When we look at, the next slide where we went from 39 in April to 59 in May. As I went through the occurrences, crime scene security and, the officer shooting, those all contributed to those increases. I'll take you to our court time costs. Your budget was 100,000 for court time costs. We're currently a year to date in 24 at 62,000. We have 37% of the budget remaining. There was one particular case, that took 76 hours of court time. The difficulty with court time is that today, for disclosure, all of the officers associated with a particular scene are being subpoenaed, and that's causing us a lot of costs as well. These are the overtime data, Mr. Chair.
And just a question, the 37%, I guess, Mike. Are we gonna make it through the years? Is it traditionally during the summer a lower time for that, chief? Just your thoughts.
But technically, if we said we're 40% left, we have a 10% variance. I think that could be pretty well managed. Again, the total is 100,000 for the year.
Okay,
I think we'll be very close. My best estimate.
thank you.
Moving on to our stats, I'll take you to the April stats. So I'm gonna give you the April to April year to date. So we're gonna compare 23 to 24 stats. And you can see we've had a 13% increase when we look at the 4893 calls for service at this point to 5514. So we have a 13% increase in just reportable occurrences, 5% overall. When we look at crimes of violence, we see that robberies are down only one, so they're pretty well the same story, 26 to 25. Assaults are down 16%. We see intimate partner violence. When we look at the 2 years, we went from 432 to 479. We're up to, that's 11% increase. Break and enter overall, we see a trend. We're down 17%. We compare the 2 years. The one increase we saw was businesses went from 37 to 45. Residential went down 33% from 124 to 83. Temp break and enters 25 to 4 are down. We look at theft of motor vehicles, we went from 29 to 36. Shoplifting occurrences are notable. We went from 297 this time last year to 536, showing an 81% increase in shoplifting. Theft from motor vehicle, sorry, down 25%. You'll recall from our last briefing, the shoplifting was up 200%. Now we're up 81%. And as I said before, the way our society deals with property offenses and shoplifting is unreasonable at this point in terms of how we treat it. Again, the deterrent value of the criminal justice system when it comes to certain criminal offenses has extremely reduced. As I said before in many board meetings, when you have 25 to 28 shoplifting occurrences on your record, these people have to be dealt with in a more stern manner and held. With respect to R versus Antic in the Supreme Court of Canada, I understand, but when people can go out and steal from businesses and feel that there's no threat of punishment or deterrent value, what's stopping them? And I can tell you, and I know our counselors around the table and our board chair continually get asked by shop owners, "Chief, what's going on?" I said, "The reality is the property offense have to be dealt with as we do all other criminal offenses. The deterrent value of release and sentencing has to be put into the criminal justice system." Look at,
Chief, I got a quick story, just about stealing. I was in a dollar store. 31 degrees outside, gentleman walks in, jacket on, 2 A&P bags, one on each shoulder. And I'm following him around, he's filling up his bags and his jacket. So I went to the clerk and I said, "That gentleman's stealing." She goes, "I know, I've been watching him." So she goes up to the gentleman and told him exactly, "You're not allowed in this store again." Escorted him out the door, never purchased one item. And I said, "Why wouldn't you have stopped?" They said, "Company office, we're not supposed to have any altercations with these people." Now I feel bad for them because they can walk in the store, steal, there's no punishment. And I gave her an example. I was buying a card. I said, "So I can walk out of the store without paying the card." She goes, "You may do so, if you'd like to." There's no stopping. And these people are taking over these mom and pop shops and these bigger stores. And you're right, there has to be more done by our 2 levels of government.
absolutely. It's a very sad story to hear, Counselor.
Sunny,
I'll hold my comments. Go ahead.
Sunny, go ahead.
Thanks, everyone. Can you hear me? Is my audio coming through okay?
Yes, very well.
Okay, Thank you. Thank you. Chief, thanks for that. I appreciate that. As sadly a similar update from the last one. Are you getting the support you need from the Crown Attorney's office locally? And are you getting the support you need in conversation? And I don't know if you're having these conversations with provincial and federal representatives.
Well, excellent question, Counselor. And the Crown Attorney's Office has done nothing but exceptional work in trying to assist us.
Okay.
They are bound by the same laws that we are. Supreme Court of Canada decision in terms of release from bail. It's a ladder effect, R versus Antic, Bill C-75. Put that into the code. And unfortunately, I can say it from my perspective, that brings cases before the courts. In many cases, like Councillor Bruni mentioned, will be referred to the police, we'll pull the video, we know who it is, we'll eventually arrest them, charge them, and put them before the courts. And the police can always do more, but the reality is the back half has to support the issues of deterrence. And that's my point, Sonny, is there is no deterrence. And to the counselor's question, I'm fearful that this process becomes normalized and that property rights become, well, only if you put your hand up are you going to stop it, and that's ridiculous. It's the respect for law that we've lost, and that's because the back half isn't pushing the deterrent value. And as a chief of police, I have no problem lobbying for changes that protect the public. Again, the police do everything we can. If we have the evidence before the court, as you know, Sonny, we'll put it before the courts. The frustration is that they walk out. And I will say the Crown Attorney's Office is doing everything they can. It's Ottawa, potentially the province, but Ottawa runs federal law.
Right.
They run bail. They run, criminal cases at the Supreme Court of Canada. We need something to change.
Okay, so the Crown's giving you everything they can. That's great. Thank you. Mr. Chair, perhaps, and maybe afterwards we can have a discussion on this. Perhaps we should be writing a letter from a board level, and I'd be happy to pen that motion to write a letter from the board level to basically explain the frustrations and ask for support. I know that the chief, I know you've been asking for this change for many, many years. So we should probably look at giving you everything we can to support you on that, especially if you've got the Crown attorneys that are doing everything and being stonewalled the same way you are.
I'm supportive of that.
Sure, we can do that, Sonny, if you want to
Sure.
propose it, then we can certainly put the motion.
Put forward a motion that we
Yes.
write to the
Attorney General.
responsible Attorney General and explain our frustration.
Right.
Because it is.
I'm sure there's other organizations or services or boards that are doing or have done similar things. So I'm sure it may not be a new message, but certainly it sounds like you're doing everything you can. You have all the support you have in the right places locally, Chief. But unfortunately, federally, we're not getting anywhere. So I'd be happy to pen that motion.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Chief.
Just finishing off, the ladder of, our occurrence, discussions, bail violations have been relatively constant. Mental Health Act are up 41%, which is notable, from this time last year. And what that speaks to is, we have the perfect storm of, long-term drug usage and mental health issues in our community that contributes to the shoplifting piece. And for me, the solution, as I've always said, isn't just policing, isn't just the courts, although they're a big part of it. It's also having facilities in our community that can treat the issue of long-term mental health. And that we have services available for these folks that are our neighbors, our cousins, our brothers, and our sisters that fall to mental health issues. They have to be treated, or they end up in this cycle of no employment, have to steal. And so we need a collective effort to deal with the issue in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments? Any other questions? Thank you, Chief. Thank you, board members, for your questions and your comments. Let's move on to
Use of force?
Division 2.
No, I'm just gonna finish off, Mr. Chair, sorry.
Okay, sorry.
Just a couple of notes here, the use of force report that's on your screen.
Right.
The number of incidents were relatively similar from 5 to 4 between April and May. The number of reports went up from 6 to 9, firearms pointed 3 to 8, and conducted energy weapon from 5 to 1. Dealing with public complaints, we only had one new complaint in May. It's being dealt with. Total number of complaints this time last year was 35. We're now down to 25 this year, which is good news. For year to date, you can see the travel log of where the office, senior officers and non-commissioned officers attended. It's all there before you. And that is my report, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions or comments?
Finish off with notes of appreciation, which is your tab 8, Juliet. 2 notes of appreciation in May of 24. We received a website submission for Constable Darius Paquette, thanking her for her assistance in dealing with the troubled youth that was dealing with drug addiction issues. The comment stated that Paquette handled the situation with compassion, understanding, and professionalism, and that the officer continues to check in and offer assistance going above and beyond. And this is exactly what the Sioux Police are pushing, that when we deal with situations, we take a personal approach, especially with long-term mental health, where we try to make sure we check in and see how things are going as a preventative issue for going into crisis in the future. We have a second one of an unknown female officer that received a recommendation for dealing with a situation that was stressful and in a calming demeanor. Again, they indicated they had compassion, a great work ethic, and did an exemplary job. And we're very proud of those submissions when they come in because policing is a difficult profession. And it's very rewarding for a chief and senior command as well as the member himself and their platoons to hear that the public acknowledges their hard work and compassion for the situation people get in. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That is my report.
Thank you, chief. Any other comments?
And while we're talking about getting compliments back from the community, I received 3 different compliments on our police officers, and I see some exposure in the local newspaper of them with children. And I think that's fantastic for the police services to build that relationship with the community. And all 3 of them said it was fabulous. The police took their time with explaining, you know, to the kids how their police car works and some of the police equipment. But anytime you get a chance to see police working with our citizens and particularly our children and are smiling and they look accommodating, that's the image they're trying to sell and try to express to the younger members of the community, that police people are good people. Policemen and women are good and they're friendly, and I think it does well for the image of the police services in this year.
Thank you.
Sunny, anything? I just wanna reiterate what Ian just mentioned. They had the big truck day, I think, on Saturday, and I think there was some exposure there with the truck to some of those incidences, and it's always very good. And certainly we've always been in the schools as well, and in my past profession, you know, they were always very helpful and very informative and broke down those barriers whereby, you know, they were seen as people of help and people of sincerity to the children. So I commend that those things are still happening, perhaps not at the rate that we want them to, but certainly there's hope that those can be increased as well.
Well, my granddaughter, she's 5, she doesn't want to be a heavy equipment operator, but she kind of likes the police.
Thank you. Number 9. Mr. Dewar. Chief, do you wanna?
So once again, we appreciate the board's representation at our downtown opening. And again, that was just to say, we've got the lease and we're in there right now. Looking for engineers and getting the place fixed so that it can manage personnel. But what I thought I would do is sort of give you, Mr. Chair, and the board and the community sort of an overview of what the timing looks like over the summer in terms of having the building prepared, and we're transitioning a variety of units down there as we can during the construction. So Inspector Dewar, if you want to jump up and do your slide, she's all yours.
Okay, so like the chief said, here's the overview of how we're gonna roll out the implementation of the downtown Division 2. So the first phase, and we're targeting mid-July for this, is to have our late lineup shifts completed at the substation. To have at least 3 additional units assigned, obviously as staffing permits, the 2 division. That bike patrol, dynamic patrol, and foot patrol, all completed out of that building.
And on that note, if I may, I've made the commitment, and my senior command, we're gonna take time out of our day and have our use of force, and you'll see us walking down those streets. As I mentioned at the news conference, the intent of this downtown division isn't just our physical presence. It's our relationship with the vendors that have been there generation after generation. So we get to know them. We have conversations about what's happening in their workplace, what things we can do, what times we should be there. And I want the community to understand this is an all hands on deck approach. Go ahead, sir.
So the second phase will be, this is dependent on construction, IT infrastructure, things of that nature. Late lineup will continue to be completed down to 2 division. We will move our traffic unit down there, which consists of 3 officers and a civilian. We'll begin to shift officers to the downtown assignment. K9 unit will be placed out of Division 2, as well as victim services and Crime Stoppers. Now this will load obviously dependent on RFPs and things of that nature with construction, but our target is to, as we move forward, have an increased presence downtown. And the third and final stage, which we're anticipating for late fall, we'll have one staff sergeant working out of that building, 16 constables working varied shifts, 4 traffic members, 3 officers and a civilian, our MCERT team, 2 bail compliance officers, our 2 canine officers, community safety officers, a duty officer, which would be essentially the front desk for walking complaints. Dynamic patrol will be run out of that building, as well as victim services and crime stoppers. So as you can see, by late fall, we'll have quite the presence downtown, doing a very variety of tasks and assignments. Any questions? Yeah.
Mark, Chief, and then Ian.
Thank you for the presentation. Once phase 3 is completed, 16 officers. But we're not just gonna concentrate strictly on Queen Street, are we? Is this substation gonna be roaming around 2 areas that are having difficulty now? And I'll give you an example, John Street, North Street, top of St. George's Hill. I'm just speaking about Ward 4. But there are other areas that need constant surveillance or presence of police officers.
The presence will be felt all across the downtown core based on community complaints, need, criminal occurrences as they shift. Depending on the weather, you'll see us flooding that entire area. Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Ian?
This might be a small item, but I think the world at large here in Sault Ste. Marie should realize that this is a substation or a downtown division. This is not a police station, and it was referred to several times during the opening as downtown police station. It certainly is not. It's a downtown division, or it's a downtown substation that's going to have a great presence downtown, I believe, anyway. There's going to be a lot more activity and officers down there, and hopefully, as Marshy mentioned, that it's not just a strip of Queen Street. This is a downtown area, and that's where we want the impact to clean up and hopefully get things to the stage where we can take our grandmothers and our kids back downtown in the early evening without having to bite and fight and battle with various unwanted downtown elements.
Sunny? Question? Comment?
Yep, thanks so much. Actually, so just thought of this now, Chief, perhaps, and it would help, I guess, my colleagues if we define the boundaries. I know that you've called this the 2-division substation. Maybe we define the boundaries of 2-division, and it'll kind of clarify for everyone how far, that it's not just going to be Queen Street, that it's going to be the entirety of that division.
I'll look to Inspector Dewar for that. Thank you.
Sure.
Go all the way from essentially Jamestown to the west, as far east as past Church Street, and then south from the water north up to basically St. George's Avenue. That way, that would be the boundaries of 2-division. Now, obviously, if there's a crisis or a major call, officers will be redeployed to that as well.
Yeah, as always, yeah.
Right.
So the only other question I had, so I think the presentation in the beginning said the first phase is late lineup will go there, obviously, because 2-division is a late lineup transfer. But that's not an addition of officers yet, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it's current numbers, current deployment until more people come in and grow.
Till the staffing increases, yes.
Yeah.
Right. And I agree with Ian mentioning, this isn't a full police station, but this is going to be already, just from what you've described, this is going to be substantially more than what we've had at the station mall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like walking complaints and all these, like this is a significant detachment presence, not a detachment, but maybe I don't know what you would call it, but it's certainly a significant presence.
Yep.
Yeah, is it 24/7?
Eventually, we'll have, the front doors might not be open 24/7, but
Right.
those certainly be officers working out of there 24/7.
Right. So yeah, significantly more than we've ever had in the past, and
Yeah.
wonderful.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Thank you for the presentation. Chief, anything?
No, I'm good, thank you, sir.
Number 10. The board meeting reformatting. And I think this comes because of the new act, chief,
Yeah.
with regard to, April 1st, new police act. And certainly we're trying to encompass all of the different sections that were mentioned in those areas and trying to make it become more transparent and more open so that the public can
Mhm.
see more and more of what's going on at a board meeting. So chief, do you want to take it over there?
Yeah, so following the new CSPA, the format of meetings will change to more closely align with the format of your city council meetings. The meetings will become more open and transparent. There will be one agenda. Topics discussed in camera will be provided on the agenda. And we are going to be looking at over the summer, sort of working with the board to transition it to the new process. I know the ministry has been good with us in terms of knowing it can't happen overnight, but we are working towards it like all other services, 46 of them across the province, moving to this new format. So that's about it, just as a heads up.
Any questions or concerns? Media at 10 o'clock, okay in the morning?
Fine with me.
Thanks. Any other comments?
So John, just so I can capture
Yes.
it for the minutes, is everybody okay if we change our meeting dates to the last Wednesday of the month and have them in the mornings? Instead, we're hoping to meet some of the, like our CSPA deadlines that we now have to make sure you guys are getting your board packages in a more timely fashion. That things are posted on the website in a more
Starting when?
timely, it
September?
would be in the fall.
Well, I won't be there, I'll be before next week. I got other meetings.
But we're not necessarily committed to that. I mean, we could also continue with the Thursdays.
You just
We'd
have,
like to move them to a morning meeting. It helps us
Yeah.
organize the day a
Or we
lot
can have
better.
more here.
I mean, realistically, we can even look at Tuesdays. We had kind of nixed Tuesdays only because sometimes we come off of a stat holiday to go immediately into a board meeting day can be a bit hectic, but it's open, certainly open for suggestion. We're just trying to give you guys more time with the information and us more time for organizing.
is that conflict a one-time conflict or
Well,
for September, maybe October?
It doesn't necessarily have to
November.
be 10 o'clock.
Probably November for me would be great, I think, you guys do what.
Okay. Sunny, any conflicts, anything? Oh, you're good with?
Well,
Okay,
I agree with Sarah. We should stay away from Tuesdays. We've got
Yeah.
members of city council that are on the board and sometimes their council meetings can go late on a Monday night and, that Tuesday catching up with what they've done the night before, probably Wednesday would fit into the schedule, I think. For everyone, even us retirees.
I don't think we need a vote. I think we'll try to make the arrangement.
Just an information
So that,
item.
yeah, exactly.
So generally, are we okay to attempt Wednesdays at 10
Yes.
o'clock and?
And then we'll
Okay.
try to figure out any conflicts that may
Okay.
occur and, work at those conflicts for the beginning part of it, because it is a change. And people should be given some notice for, when there's a little bit of a change. So I leave that unless there's any other questions. Any new business?
I don't know if it qualifies under new business, but during your absence, Mr. Chairman, at the last meeting, I filled in those huge set of boots for you. And I'd like to thank, the member of the board, Sonny, because he was on the road during that time frame and he still stayed in contact and he came to us via electronically and participated in the meetings. And I appreciate that. When somebody's out and on the road, et cetera, it can sometimes be tricky
Yes.
attending the meeting, but he never missed a minute of it. So thanks, Sonny, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, Sunny.
we did have a very efficient meeting and we finished on time with compliments coming from Councillor Bruni. But we got the job done in time. That's it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate everybody filling in and, making it as good as it was. Thank you. Our next meeting date is September 26th. Sarah, does that fall into? Our
No,
pattern?
that's based on our current pattern. We will readjust.
Okay, so we'll just say
Readjust our new
September
pattern.
and to be
September, and we will
announced.
get updates and the website will be updated.
So it'll be- To be announced, and then we will certainly fill you in as well.
That's providing there's no emergency for July and August, which you've had in the past. You
Yes,
just call a
exactly.
meeting.
There may be
Yeah.
some in the summertime because of whatever factors,
Circumstance, yeah.
circumstance. So I mean, those are. We'll try to inform the media if they're open meetings as well, okay? If there's anything that comes up. So we thank you for that. At this time, I need a person to move that we adjourn, Marching, and a seconder.
I'll second it.
Favor, agreed. The meeting is adjourned.